So I want to geek out a bit about photography because this morning I had an epic opportunity to go to Mount Diablo and check out the Leonids meteor shower, which was absolutely fantastic. I posted some of my work on the Facebook and Flickr. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch anything. It seemed like every time I hit the shutter, they had just gone by, or as soon as I released the shutter, one would go by. But I'm going to try again on the 14th for the next, December 14th for the next meteor shower. But I had a lot of fun and I learned a whole lot about shooting the sky. As soon as I heard that I had this opportunity, I immediately went out to one of my favorite lens rental places and picked up this awesome Sigma 4.5 millimeter lens here. This thing is ridiculous. The I mean, it's kind of a crazy fisheye, and as you can see from the frame here, you actually don't get a whole lot. Like well, I mean, you get everything. You get almost 180 degrees, right? But as such, you just get a circle. So, you're gonna have to do a little cropping. Here's some of the better stuff that I got from this morning. But all in all, really, really happy with it. And a couple things I learned. I mean, first of all, if you're going to shoot the sky looking for meteors, you have to use a long exposure. So, to do a long exposure, there's another thing that you have to kind of keep in mind, and that is that the Earth moves, and as such, the stars will like leave streaks. And there's actually motor control units that you can get like for your tripod that actually are calibrated to the rotation of the Earth and will make the adjustments so that your like long exposures will look, like the stars are still. But still, I think you can do some pretty artistic stuff even with the stars moving. So I'm going to try some of that while I still have this lens on rental. And the other thing I learned, of course, is, well, of course you have to have it on a tripod, or else, it's going to be way too shaky. And the other thing is, even just your finger pressing the shutter can cause enough shake to make the image blurry or not quite so great. So one of the things that you typically want to use is like an external shutter control, like a shutter control cable. And unfortunately, I didn't have one of those. So right before I ran out, I looked up the specs for the Canon EOS system and found that it's actually pretty simple circuitry. So happened to have some stuff laying around here and put together a cable. So just hacking up some stuff that we had laying around. Here's a 2.5 millimeter cable. There's your regular 3.5 for like your headphones, but this is more like cell phone sized, right? And that'll just fit right in here on my 550D. There we go. And then I've just gone ahead and wired it to a big ass switch. And the reason that I'm doing a single throw switch thingy here rather than like a momentary is because what I'm actually trying to use is this mode here called bulb. Oops, as soon as I touch the screen it goes away. Yeah, bulb. So that's the trick there, is everything's in manual. I'm at ISO 100 f6.3, right? You can see I can do a 6-second exposure, I can do 1/60th, which wouldn't go much below 1/50th if I was doing handheld, but when it's locked off on a tripod, I can totally do awesome stuff like a 30-second exposure. But what if I wanted to do like a 5-minute exposure? Well, for that, you go one click over and you get bulb, and that's what this is all about, because here I'll put it into a live preview mode so we can see what we're getting here. Alright, I'm going to take a picture of, I guess, my awesome necklace. Alright, and so I just throw that, and it'll actually just start counting up. And then whenever I feel ready, I'll just throw the switch again. And there we go. I've got a slightly overexposed image, but it's pretty bright in here anyway. But that's really cool, so that I can just have that kind of manual control. So then that got me thinking, well, hey, why don't I program this? So what did I do? I immediately whipped out the old trusty Teensy, my favorite Arduino type device, which easily programmable. I think like I could do in 7 lines of code. What I want to do is is what's called an intervalometer, which essentially is going to allow me to do time-lapse photography. So I can say, hey, every 15 seconds, take an exposure. And then if I do all of that right, then I could put together like a pretty cool movie. If I like set it up for like an hour, then times 30 frames per second, like an hour could come out to like maybe 10 seconds of video, which would be really, really cool. So I started programming it, but I'm having some problems with my IDE. And then I was like, my roommate Dave was like, well, why don't you use a 555? And I've actually never played with 555 timers, so I've always known that you can do some pretty cool stuff with them, but they're like analog, and I think of programming when I first. Anyway, so I thought, hey, all right, let's give it a try. And here's what we've got so far with a little help from Dave, figuring out the whole trigger system. Well, all we have is just a blinking LED, right? But that blinking LED could easily result in, instead of an LED, it hitting this switch here. Now, of course, it's blinking a little too fast right now. That's like exposure, exposure, way too much, right? And it's all based on these resistors here and these capacitors here. So you've actually doubled up on the capacitors, and I got 3 resistors going. And the reason for that is because my capacitors are way too small. I need to get some bigger capacitors. But as soon as I do, I'll be able to, and with a potentiometer, like have a knob where I can adjust the timing of the exposures. And there we go. I'll save myself $60 on not having to buy a intervalometer. So that's what I'm I'm totally geeking out. Anyway, that's what I'm having fun doing. What are you geeking out about? What have you been building lately? Let me know. And yeah, you shoot new star photography? I don't know. Hit me up with some tips because I'm so new at this, but I'm having so much fun. So all right, the monkey and I say goodbye.